Hello there, fellow prospectors and other vague humans of life. Thanks for coming back to another wee video, and I can't be arsed shooting the shit, so let's just get stuck right in. Today, ladies and gents, we are in Kennecott, Alaska. Let's dive into the rough and tumble world of Alaskan copper mining with a sprinkle of swan humor. Tucked away in the untamed wilderness of the Wrangell-St. Elias National Park and Preserve, Kennecott, Alaska is the perfect destination for those who think middle of nowhere is too mainstream. Picture it. It's the early 20th century, a time when prospecting for minerals in the wilds of Alaska was considered a legitimate career path, and the place is swarming with hopeful miners, engineering geniuses, and people who think remote location is the name of a new cocktail. Kennecott, Alaska, emerged as a copper mining juggernaut and the ultimate testament to human tenacity or sheer stubbornness, take your pick. It all started in 1900, when two prospectors with more guts than sense, Tarantula Jack Smith and Clarence Warner, stumbled upon a massive outcrop of high-grade copper ore. If finding a copper deposit in Alaska sounds like a 1 in a million shot, that's because it was. They must have thought they'd hit the mother lode, but really it was just a cleverly disguised death trap. After all, these were the days when venturing into the Alaskan wilderness was akin to signing up for a game of Will It Kill Me? With the answer often being, yes, it might, why the hell are you even here? And so, Tarantula Jack Smith and Clarence Warner quickly staked their claims and hunted for financial backers, because even back then everyone knew the first rule of prospecting: never use your own money. And we'll just take a wee pause here to confirm that, yes, I did just say Tarantula Jack Smith because that was his nickname, and no, we don't need to know why. But if you're wondering like I did, I assume it's because he had massive hairy legs, and he had 8 of them. You can't prove he didn't, so we may as well continue. Also, he ate all his spouses, but that's not even related. After months of prospecting, these investors, which included the Hevermeyer family and J.P. Morgan, confirmed that the copper mines here were the richest in the known world. As a result, money began flowing in, and it wasn't long until over $30 million were secured, and that's 30 million in 1905 money. No need for you to run off and check. I already did that, and holy damn. Shit, son, is that a lot of money? The equivalent of almost $1.1 billion went to the founding of Kennecott. That's billion, with a big B. This money was to be used to the building of a railway, steamship lines, and further mines, with of course a few dollars here and there skimmed off the top for anyone who was smart enough to get away with it. Anyhow, by 1905, the Kennecott Copper Corporation was born, and the town of Kennecott was built, named after the Kennecott Glacier in the valley below, and proving once again that rich folks can turn anything into gold, or in this case, copper. They began constructing the camp, complete with a 200-mile railway through glaciers and mountain passes. These folks didn't just go off the beaten path, they built a new path over every conceivable obstacle, because why take the easy route when you can have a near-death experience instead? And so the madness of constructing a mining camp in the middle of nowhere began. Picture engineers and laborers trudging through snow, battling the elements and probably questioning all their life choices. Oh, I don't know if you've lived in a properly cold country or ever been really cold and wet outdoors, but trust me, questioning your life choices sets in pretty early. Sometimes I'll be doing that, just on the way from my front door to the bins. The camp was strategically placed near the copper deposits and the terminus of the Copper River and Northwestern Railway, an engineering marvel which snaked through glaciers, over rivers and across mountain passes. It was essentially a grand experiment in how much insanity can we pack into one project. Completed in 1911, the railway defied logic and nature, cementing Kennecott's reputation as a place where the impossible became possible. Kennecott quickly turned from mine camp into a full-blown boomtown, home to between 300 and 600 people who probably couldn't spell claustrophobia, but sure knew how to live it, and knew finer well the testament of a steady paycheck. Eventually 5 great copper mines were built here, aptly named Bonanza, Jumbo, Mother Lode, Erie, and Glacier. These mines sounded more like a series of superhero names than industrial sites, and the workers there were no less heroic. These mines churned out high-grade copper ore faster than you can say corporate greed. The Kennecott Mill, the heart of operations, was a towering beast where crushing, grinding, and flotation processes transformed ore into copper concentrate. Back in those days, employee safety was not yet a well-known term, and so it was perfectly acceptable to have your folks work in a giant, noisy, dangerous machine. The ore was then shipped off to Tacoma, Washington, because if you've survived Alaska, you definitely need to experience the wonders of the Pacific Northwest. Just a thought, but if you send it off on a train, is it still shipped off? Why not trained off? Just wondering. It's possible the English language may still need some work done. By 1911, the first shipments, or as I have now decided to call them, trainments, were trained off. These first trainments, yes, I'm sticking to this new word I invented, and no, I don't care if you don't like it, contained 72% copper and 18 ounces of silver per ton. In 1916, the peak year for production, the mines produced copper ore valued at $32.4 million US. That's more than $1.1 billion today, so as we can see, that initial money was proving well worth the investment. God damn, I wish I had $1.1 billion to invest today. I gotta be honest though, I don't even know if I would invest it. I might just sit on a beach and chill. Sure as shit wouldn't be going to Alaska though. Snow might be cold, but it ain't chill. Now, believe it or not, Kennecott was more than a copper utopia. It was a self-sufficient community. It had a hospital, a school, a general store, and even a recreation hall, because who doesn't want to play bingo in a mining town? The Kennecott Company ensured that the residents had healthcare, education, and a sense of community, as long as they didn't mind the soul-crushing isolation and occasional bear attack. And the hospital here was well prepared for that. The hospital was also the only building in the town to be painted white, as white paint was expensive, and at that time red paint was much cheaper. In fact, the local hospital at Kennecott had the very first X-ray machine in Alaska. Speaking not only of the money gathering at this town, but also of the local bear's propensity for shattering bones like dust. Never, ever, ever challenge a bear to an arm wrestle. Never. You have been warned, and I feel absolutely zero sympathy for those who ignore me. Now, I'm going to very, very briefly, for 20 seconds or something, nothing time, interrupt this video to point your face towards today's sponsor, Hire, who are the world's greatest company on planet Earth. I know this because that's what they told me, and I am inherently gullible to the core. I also trust everything and everybody every time. Who are Hire? Well, Hire are the world's greatest company at personalizing stuff. That's it. They personalize and customize pretty much everything you can think of with your own personal customized design. T-shirts, ashtrays, USBs, boxes, and whatever else you can think of. Hire can design it with your own custom brand logo, or design for you to sell at your own business or WeShop. So that's that. Now you know. Sponsor over, and don't forget Hire for all your customized needs. And back to the video. Now, where were we? Kennecott. So, by 1925, however, geologists were predicting that the mines were running out too quickly and the end of this high-grade ore wasn't too far away. These predictions were correct, with the highest-grade ores almost gone by 1930. All good things must come to an end, and for Kennecott, the end came in the late 1930s. While the Glacier Mine closed first in 1929, the other four mines all closed within months of each other in 1938. The rich copper deposits were nearly depleted, and mining the remaining ore became less cost-effective. The corporation, ever the pragmatists, decided it was time to cut their losses and leave while they still had their sanity and wallets intact. And so, on November the 10th, 1938, the last train chugged out of Kennecott, leaving behind a ghost town, and its buildings stood abandoned, slowly surrendering to the elements. Kennecott became a relic, a ghostly reminder of the boom and bust cycle that defined the resource extraction industry. Over its lifetime, from 1906 until 1938, the Kennecott mines produced nearly 5 million tons of ore and more than 1 billion pounds of copper. The operations here reported gross revenues above $200 million with over 100 million in net profit. And again, in case you're wondering, that's over $3.5 billion today. These guys have gone from holy shit Batman money to fuck all y'all, I'm going to Mars. Within just a few months, the population of Kennecott dropped from a few thousand to just 5 people, one family who had been left as watchmen of the site. These people also left a decade later, and in the 1960s, a local company who owned the area ordered the town to be destroyed, mostly to avoid any liability for accidents caused to people like me who just can't help themselves from going exploring these old buildings. However, the job was never finished, and most of the town is still left standing today. Many of these are now in the process of being restored. Fast forward to 1986, and the National Park Service stepped in, realizing that Kennecott was too fascinating to let rot. They designated it as a National Historic Landmark District, preserving its crumbling glory for future generations. Now visitors can wander the streets, poke around the mill, and imagine life in a town where the men were tough, the women were tougher, and the bears were the toughest of all. Wandering through Kennecott today is like stepping into a time machine. If you're the type who thinks bungee jumping isn't thrilling enough, Kennecott is your kind of place. The Wrangell-St. Elias National Park and Preserve also offers hiking, rafting and flight-seeing tours, meaning you can risk your life and then end it in a whole variety of exciting ways. Then, one day many years later, and also desperately looking for something to make me about $3.5 billion, I came along and I made this map, as you have been watching in this video, and as I keep continuing to keep doing. This one was made for the game Cities Skylines 2, because that's what I like to do, make maps, build worlds, and then learn about them. It's just how I operate. I built this one so I could reimagine a wee bit of history. What if Kennecott had never been abandoned? If its mines had never run dry? How might it look today? How might it have grown? If you also need to know, then feel free to follow the link in the description below to download the free map and build your city right here to find out. Before we get into the map information, I'm asked by my wife to remind you to like and subscribe. It really helps my wee channel, and also she says that if you don't, then she'll take me to Kennecott and abandon me there just like the buildings. Although I'm totally up for a free trip, I have reasons to suspect this one might not be as fun as the time she abandoned me at the bar on the beach in Vietnam, so please do help. She wears an evil smile and thinks it's hilarious when I have frostbite. Thank you. Now for that map information, here it is. Climate -13 to 24 degrees Celsius. Buildable area 54%, outside connections, roads, rail, shipping, air, power, natural resources. Wheat 87.8 square kilometers, forest 466 kilotons, or 56.6 kilotons, oil 50.2 kilotons, terrain. This entire map is built on a gradual north-south slope with few flat areas. There are steep mountains to the west and east. And that's almost it for today, folks. Today we have been in Alaska, building mines and training ore, as well as reinventing the English language and stubbornly refusing to go back. Thanks for coming. This has been Kennecott. I have been AncientSwan, and you have been watching, which I am eternally thankful for. See you next time. Peace, love, and Kennecott. Good! Bye!